This is it, baby. 50 hours away, basically, from kickoff. We are ready to put the finishing touches on our week of previews with Deniz Selman in studio. Zach Berman checking in with the latest from the practice field, where we have another wide receiver taking an injury rest day. It's all coming up next on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. We're in studio. Bo Wulf, the professor, Deniz Selman here, rocking the latest, greatest merch. A throwback to the wonderful Strip Swooper Gambit. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We have here Saquon Barkley leaping over the only person in Philadelphia who continues to doubt him, and that would be the professor himself. Very, very cool to be wearing a shirt with your own visage on it.
It is cool. I had a shirt with myself on it when I was like 14. That's the last time.
Okay, what was that?
It was just a picture of me wearing an Eagles shirt that like a friend of my dad's had made for me. My hair was really long, and it was like in front of my face, and you couldn't really tell it was me. But
did you then take a picture of yourself wearing the shirt so that you could?
There are pictures of me wearing the shirt, but there are no shirts of the picture of the shirt.
Well, we got to keep that thing going down the line. Yeah, absolutely. All right. There is a lot to get to, and there is news from the NovaCare complex where Nick Sirianni announced today during his press conference that Jalen Hurts has been cleared. He is out of the concussion protocol. He will be ready to start on Sunday, but not such good news from the practice field. And for that, we're going to go top of the show straight to the NovaCare complex. Our Eagles insider, Zach Berman. Zach, how you doing?
Doing well, though. Fridays always leave me with a conflicted feeling. And because you can't be two places at once. I'm envious of you guys. I want to be in studio. I want to be in studio with you, but I don't want to miss anything here. So Fridays have been a conundrum all year. We'll see how long the Eagles last, but there's going to be a cadence of 5 days in studio together. Until then, I have to talk to you virtually here.
I think this week you can be. You got to see Deniz and do a show with him yesterday, so it's not like you're fully missing out on Deniz. I think you're making the right decision today, especially because at some point we imagine you're going to get to talk to Jalen Hurts. So maybe we'll even talk to you at the end of this show. We'll see how it goes.
I hope so. It really depends on Jalen's timeline. I hope to write more books one day. One of them might be called Waiting for Jalen, because I have done a lot of waiting for Jalen. I will wait for Jalen today. But one person that I was waiting to see who I did not see on the practice field was DeVonta Smith. Mm-hmm. And that was the news you were alluding to. DeVonta Smith is not they're practicing right now across the street. So that way from where I am.
By the way, I don't want to do the Bo Wulf thing where I cut you off in the middle of your sentence, but I do have to say this. As I left the facility today and went to take the Broad Street line here to the studio, the buses are going. They're taking the Eagles players, and they have a police escort. Do we need a police escort from the NovaCare complex to Lincoln Financial Field on a Friday when there's no traffic? They can't sit at one stoplight?
That is really funny.
Yeah, so I brought
I don't know if people realize just how close the NovaCare is to the stadium.
It's literally one stoplight.
It is a 45-second bike ride.
It's ridiculous.
I mentioned this the other day to Jamie and Rich on Wednesday's show, and I am with you there. I frankly don't even think they need buses. Like, can't they just get into their cars and drive over there?
Well, the bus, at least it's energy efficient. You're traveling more people at once.
Okay. Fair. Okay. Yeah. But then, yeah, the police escort.
Plus, they're in there, aren't they? They're close to their pads. They're not going to be driving in their pads.
Fair. That's a fair point. Okay. I don't know if it's like I was giving the example of if you're playing in St. Joe's Prep, you get in the car and you drive over to wherever you're going, or maybe the bus. I don't know. Subway. That said, yeah, the police escort, they were over at practice, and before practice, learned that DeVonta Smith wouldn't be out there. DeVonta has back tightness, and from my understanding, he's still expected to play. The Eagles are being cautious with this, especially in cold weather. They don't want to kind of have it tighten up even more. I think that's the reason why they're being proactive, putting this message out, basically, is to kind of offer that context. A.J. Brown was back at practice. A.J. Brown's clearly dealing with a knee injury. You'll see A.J. play on Sunday. But to the larger point, yeah, their top two receivers have injury questions, will be on the injury report when it comes out.
A follow-up here on Jalen Hurts from the Super Chat. I actually missed the name, but Lock City is curious, Zach. Was Jalen Hurts at practice? Did he have a finger brace? How's his little fingy?
Yeah, good question. He has not had a brace when I've seen him this week. So saw him on Wednesday and saw him today. Has not had the brace. So yeah, the time off has given that left ring finger time to heal.
Good question from Lock City.
And you mentioned at the top, and that is the big news. Jalen officially cleared, and this really is the schedule that we expected at the start of the week, and that would practice limited on Wednesday, would be full on Thursday, would be clear Friday morning. That's exactly what happened. So Jalen, good to play Sunday.
And so just to make it clear, your expectation is that the Eagles expect to have both A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith ready to go on Sunday.
Yeah, my strong expectation is that they expect to have A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith on the field Sunday. I can't tell you.
It's fair to expect
that A.J. Brown,
DeVonta Smith, degree, though, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, I can't tell you they're going to be at full capacity, or they're not going to be affected by the injury. I can't tell you that. What I can tell you is that the expectation in this building is that A.J. and DeVonta are playing on Sunday.
Got it. On the topic of Nick Sirianni, Zach, there's a story out now on allphly.com about what is it exactly that Nick Sirianni does. I would imagine that the people in the chat hopefully are diehards. Make sure that you do sign up and you can read that story. Zach, what's your give us your 30-second elevator pitch on that bad boy.
Yeah, that was really the question after the season when they stripped when he ceded the duties of the offense is what does he do? What's his role going to be? And the obvious answer is coach the team. But during the past 6 to 8 weeks, I've really tried to explore what exactly is different with Sirianni's role this year. Talking to people, whether it's on the record, behind the scenes, trying to figure this out. And the big thing that came up in my reporting more than anything else was the focus on culture. And so that seems like a nebulous term, but I do think when they viewed the way last year went, they didn't think the culture was good at the end. Obviously the offense wasn't good at the end either, nor the defense, but I don't think they thought the culture was good at the end. So there was a lot that they tried to do during the off season to focus on culture. And then there's a lot that they tried to do in season. And I can say from all corners of the locker room, because I spoke, even though guys aren't quoted in this story, like there was maybe like 5 or 6 players quoted in this story, but I've spoke to a lot of guys around the locker room, and they have noted like a difference in the culture in the culture in the building. And then there are little things too, like Sirianni used to have meetings on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday for the team. He instituted daily meetings now. So they have meetings Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's another change that he's made, and it's to reinforce certain messages. We've discussed this already. I know I'm going over 30 seconds here, but they're in most Mondays after games. They didn't used to. Last year they would have off until Wednesday after a lot of their wins. That's a change. There's different things from a communication perspective. How Nick allocates his time is a lot different. I touched on it in the story, but just to kind of give a sense, like this day last year. So take the Friday, so Saturday last year before the Monday night game. Nick would have been spending a lot of time with the offense. Nick would have been spending time with the offensive game plan. Nick would have been spending time, he would have started his week going through a lot of different things about the opponent's defense. And he would have been focused on putting an offensive game plan together. Whereas today, my sense is Nick is focused more on some bigger picture things than a lot of situational things going into the week as well.
Yeah, I guess as you reported out this story, Zach, there is a question about how removed from the offense Nick Sirianni actually is. As you reported out this story, how did that come about to you?
Yeah, so I'll give kind of more details than what might be in that story too. In that I do think Nick is quite involved, but I don't think he's as involved early. I don't think he's not putting the game plan together, and I think he's catching it more maybe on the back end of the game plan. And I think he's able. I think his involvement is these are things that are important this week, right? And so able to come in with big picture things. We want to do X, Y, and Z, right? So he's not putting the menu together. He's not putting the game plan together. He obviously knows the game plan, but there are certain priorities that Nick might have in a given week based on the feedback he's getting from the players, based on what he's evaluating on film, based on maybe trends he's seeing around the league, that he's coming to them with all right, these are some things we should really focus on this week. So I think his involvement is more macro instead of micro.
And Zach, if
micro.
If just as
look at you,
very good. Just as an example, would you say that the reason that there's less under center play action in this offense than there's ever been in any Kellen Moore offense? Would you say that Nick is more of a reason for that, or that Jalen is more of a reason for that?
Oh, I would say Jalen's more of a reason for that because the last 2 years, they've been the bottom of the league in under center play action. With I don't think.
Well, but that's Nick.
I think
Jalen,
part of that is true, but I think Jalen after the Super Bowl year, after the contract, was maybe a little more heavy-handed in terms of certain concepts that he might like. I also think, and maybe this is Nick. I think that they feel from a run, and this might be stout one too, for all I know. But I think from a running game perspective, they feel it's particularly beneficial to have Jalen out of shotgun and the element that provides to the run game. So I think when you look at the numbers, and you hit him on the head this week with Tanner McKee, I think one of the big differences is Tanner's not really providing that element, that +1 in the running game. Whereas even with Kenny Pickett, because they didn't do a lot of under center play action with Pickett, my understanding is that week they wanted Pickett to be part of the running game. They didn't want to start the running game from scratch there, and they feel that the quarterback in the gun provides more of a help in the running game.
Yeah, I mean there were 0 snaps of under center play action for a month before Tanner McKee got in there. So,
yeah.
All right. Anything else, Zach, that you want to get off your chest?
So there are a few other things I think from that story that would factor into kind of what's going on this week.
Okay.
And
give the whole thing away.
So true. I hope you read the story, obviously. But I do know that Nick and another coach have talked about this. Michael Clay's talked about this. The concept of joy has come up often. And that goes to the culture, and that's not by accident. There is something, and Dave Zangaro actually asked a good question about this earlier this year. It's something that I had heard about.
He always sounds surprised when Zangaro asks a good question.
Nick?
No, Zach.
Oh,
no. He's always like Zangaro actually asked a good question today. I feel like it's the second time it's happened in a month.
No, I didn't want to bring it up as if it's my original point here. Which when Dave asked it, I was like, so I was actually keeping this in my back pocket for the story, was these celebration meetings that they had, or these celebration montages that they have. Nick really believes in that, in they're celebrating basically. I really think there was a sense that it was not a good culture at the end of last year. And so if you're juxtaposing a difference between the Eagles going into this game and difference going into last year's game, Obviously, A.J. Brown's banged up going into both of them. Defense is much better this year, but I think that this is just a team with a better head on its shoulders, a happier locker room going into this game.
I think if we're thinking about, it's hard if so much of the stuff that Nick does is unseeable, right? Or unquantifiable to give it the appropriate amount of credit. And I do think he deserves credit for, it's like the joy stuff sounds hokey, right?
Hokey.
It sounds a little silly. However, like last year, for the vibes to be so bad was kind of why? Like you just went to the Super Bowl. Like, what's the big deal? It would have been. It's impressive for him to make this, from his perspective, like a joy-focused year when he was so under fire. Like, if anything, this would have been the year for him to be tight and really tense about everything and like really being a hard ass because his ass is on the line. And now, obviously, as you write about in the story, it's hard to disentangle. Does winning create joy? Does joy create winning?
Yeah.
It's probably a little bit more of the former. But I do think that he deserves credit for stepping outside of himself. And frankly, it's probably reasonable to say that may not have been the case early in the season. In that Browns game, it didn't seem like that was the case. And so maybe it took something like that for him to step back and come outside of himself and focus more on the team.
Yeah, well, so to the point, my story before the season, Nick specifically said he found joy this offseason. And I chose that for the reason you said is because you would think he would have all this pressure on him going into the year. So that was a focus. And I do think that early in the year, I think a lot of the reaction after the Tampa game and the Atlanta game even, I think that I think there was really an internal fight then to keep the locker room from becoming like it was last year. When Nick said this team has 2022 vibes, that was not by accident. I think he chose his words carefully when he said that. Because
that's a little bit self-promoting. Like, of course he's going to say that.
No, but he said it during a time when like things could have been splintering, and I think that he had determined at that point that that was a stronger locker room. And like Jordan Mailata specifically said to me that what Nick did during the bye week, like propelled them this season. That he said that showed everything you need to know about Nick. This locker room is opening in 2 minutes, which is a good thing because it means I might be able to get you on the back end here. I will be messaging you guys in Slack once or text once Jalen speaks and AJ speaks, and I'll come hustling down here.
Go ahead. Thanks for taking the time, Zach.
See you, Zach.
You got it.
Interesting, Deniz, that bye week conversation and changing of the structure of the offense is also what made you hate this team.
I love this team. I think I'm the only person on the show who loves this team. I'm a fan of the team. True. And I'm very excited about these playoffs. I think
what did you think of the hype video?
Somebody in the what's that?
What did you think of the hype video?
Terrible. Just awful, lazy. It's only a minute long.
That's not my favorite.
Shady. It's just like
shady,
why?
I mean, on a wild card weekend, we're going with a guy who never made it past the wild card round,
and not like and he wasn't that good really.
It was also there were production value wise.
There's
like,
so many.
It's just clips and a one shot. Where's the city?
I've said this on the show before. The 2017 hype videos, I think before all 3 rounds, made me cry. Like literally cry. I was like crying like on like Friday night before the game. I was like, I gotta. For me. I was like, the game's in 2 days. I gotta calm down. And these videos.
Did you cry when
they
won the Super Bowl?
When won the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
For like a month. Are you kidding? Every morning I cried. And then every night I cried. It was just a month of crying. And then I also cried when we lost the Super Bowl. I was talking to Feldman about that. Like I was sitting in the stands just crying for like a good half hour. The security people had to ask. No, the security people have to ask me. It's not that important. The security people have to ask me to leave pretty much every game because I always want to. I'm always watching like the players like hug each other and getting my cords and papers together and everything. But at the Super Bowl, it was
weaponizing your tears.
It was Super Bowl. I was just sitting there crying. Yeah, that sucked.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about?
Yeah. So how much I love this team should not be in doubt. People in the chat yesterday were saying I made it sound like the Eagles are 5-12. I mean, it's not like interesting to talk about how the defense is good or whatever. Like we're talking about things the Packers do well because those are the things you have to worry about before a playoff game. Like that doesn't
talking about the margins.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that like I think that this is going to be a loss or anything like that. I certainly don't.
I have an interesting one for you. Maybe it's not that interesting. Let's presume the Eagles win this game. Okay. The Eagles are going to win. Would you rather play a Bucs team that let's also assume the Bucs are not as good as the 4-5, so you get the team that's not quite as good, or would you rather have the extra day of rest and play the winner of Minnesota, LA?
Yeah. So if it's the Bucs, just looking forward, it would be Saturday, which would mean an extra day of rest before the championship game. So going forward, like going all the way through, you'd have a rest advantage in the championship game over the the opponent. Whereas if it's on Sunday, it'll be against another team. It'll be against a team that played Monday night, so it'll be an extra day of rest in the divisional round.
But then you'll have
and they have to travel. Plus, if it's the Rams, they're like not even their practice facility is like on in terrible situation now. So I don't know. I mean, I think the opponent matters more than the rest probably.
Okay, so you would be rooting for the Bucs in theory Sunday night if you're coming off an Eagles win.
Do you think the Bucs are worse than the Rams and the Vikings? I'm not so sure.
I don't think that it's definitive.
Yeah,
no, I don't. And also for this Eagles team, there's a bit of a ghost there.
A little bit of a ghost, little bit of a the whole Todd Bowles thing is scary. I think that like they're missing a lot of guys. Like I was making my depth charts for the other games like last night, and I realized like man, they're missing like half their secondaries out. Like. But with Bulls, there's just this like weird factor. So I'm not sure.
I would have been much more worried about the Bucs this week than I would be next week, if that makes sense. If you got the first playoff win under your belt, and I actually think any of those three teams, I'll feel better if they have come through this game with a win. I'll feel better about next week's game than I do about this week's game.
The thing that I maybe am maximizing for a little bit more is I don't think Washington would have like any chance to go into Detroit and win. And so if we want the NFC Championship game here,
I think that's a good point.
It might be better for Tampa to win, and then one of the Rams or Vikings beating the Lions seems more likely. I know the Vikings like got smashed in that game.
As bad.
Yeah, but like it wouldn't be that bad. They had lots of opportunities like in the red zone and stuff. It's not like they didn't have chances. But I just don't see Washington like being able to go into Detroit and win. Like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Jaden Daniels magic or whatever. But yeah.
Okay. All right, quick break, and then we're going to get into some of the real weeds of this matchup and some league-wide trends that are on Deniz's mind. All right, we start with Game Time. And what sponsor of ours is more important this weekend than Game Time? Because you still got a chance to go to the game on Sunday, and maybe you're going to get a little surprise of some tickets for sale that you didn't think were going to be as cheap as they are. You get that alert, you check it out on Game Time, you got to layer up, but get yourself ready to go to the game. This is what it's all about, people. Game Time is the place for last-minute tickets, late-time tickets, and basically tickets of any time because it's the best in the business. We're talking all-in pricing, so you see exactly how much you're going to pay when you're looking for tickets. No surprise fees at the end. Game Time picks, curates all the tickets to make it easier to find better value for tickets to sports, concert, comedy, theater, and more. You get the seat views ahead of time. You get the lowest price guarantee where Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find the same seats for cheaper elsewhere. You get Game Time ticket coverage where your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. And now, I get to tell you about our newest sponsor. Check out this bad boy. Feel this, Deniz. A little heft to it, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's good.
That's good. That's an ice shaker, my friend. The perfect gift for the passionate sports fan in your life. Perhaps you've heard of Ice Shaker. Ice Shaker is now officially licensed with the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, and MLB, and will make the ideal gift for the sports fan in your life. All kinds of uses for this bad boy. Created and used by the Gronkowski brothers, Ice Shakers has sold over 1 million bottles. They have changed the game with workout bottles, and this is the bottle you've been looking for. Go to iceshaker.com and use the code ALLCITY25 at checkout to save 25% on your order. We're talking kitchen-grade stainless steel bottles that won't absorb odor like the plastic bottles do. Patented twist in the agitator that breaks up powders but is silent when you shake it instead of that annoying ball. It's third-party tested and will hold ice for over 30 hours. Customizable as well if you want to send your logo. Check out their custom shop. The agitator works as a strainer too and makes a very solid tailgating cup to mix drinks. Order your team-branded bottles today at iceshaker.com and use the code ALLCITY25, all one word, for 25% off your order. Ice Shakers, show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market. Ice Shakers. Fantastic. Now, through that read, missed a call for my car. Just getting the oil changed. Should I answer it? Should I not? I can't do it during the ad read. Maybe during the show, but not during the ad read. I can't do that to Ice Shakers.
What happened to your car?
It just needs an oil change.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Time for an oil change. No big deal. It's also time for me to make my pick against my brother in our annual tennis majors draft.
Okay.
We draft at the beginning of the year, and then you get the combined wins over all the majors.
Yeah, I'm familiar, but audience members may not.
It's up to me in number 6 overall. I took Carlito, number 1. I know that Sinner is better right now, but I got to go with my heart.
I like the color coding there. I need to send you my tennis Grand Slam spreadsheet, which is color coded similarly.
Really?
Yeah.
This goes shout out to my brother. He's a good Excel man.
Yeah. Mine goes back to the beginning of the Open era.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you might like it.
Maybe we should make this a 3-man.
I'm not like following the new players very much.
You said you've got your own spreadsheet.
I like the history.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I go Alcaraz. He goes Sinner, Sabalenka. He gets the double there. I went Coco. Tough call between Coco and Iga Swiatek.
Mm-hmm.
He goes Iga. So he gets 3 of the top 5, obvious. Now there's a bit of a drop off to me. Do I go with a Medvedev? I take one of the women. I'm going to make the pick. I'm going to go Qinwen Zhang. That's going to be my pick.
All right. Well,
so
good luck.
Go. It's over to my brother now. How about that?
Yeah. I feel like we're exiting like a very important part, like era in tennis, especially in the men's. Like,
yes, you have to know that Novak and Zverev are not eligible.
Not allowed to pick.
And if your player beats either one of them, you get an extra point.
Who would pick Zverev anyway?
Well, exactly.
I got you.
Okay.
All right.
Where would you like to start here, Professor? You want to talk deep balls? You want to talk running? You want to talk? I don't know.
You may be surprised that I wanted to start with the quarterbacks in a different manner. Real quick stat about Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, both playing in this game.
Okay.
The Eagles are 11-0 this year,
presumably,
hopefully. When Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown both start and finish the game, the Eagles are 11-0 this year and 38-6, including the playoffs overall, which is crazy. I mean, the four losses came during the collapse, and then the loss to Washington and the loss in the Super Bowl. That's it. So this team has been just unbelievably successful with those two both playing the whole game. Now we need them to start and finish the game, obviously, for that to be relevant for this game. I wanted to ask you about Jordan Love. I know you and Fran love the guy. You know, a lot of people Sheila loves him as well.
He's no Marcus Freeman. I mean, that's an attractive man.
It just seems like Sheila admitted he was high variance the other day, at least. But like, I feel like the way
I was watching that game last night with my family. Whew. Now that's a ball team over there. Sorry, I had to.
No, that's fine. That's all good.
Family.
It's all good. I'm mildly perplexed.
Who do you think was rooting harder for Notre Dame last night, Fran or Howie Roseman?
Wait, explain the Howie Roseman element of this.
Well, he's still mad at James Franklin.
Oh, right,
for
the tampering thing. That's right.
Phone.
Okay. I got you. Yeah. And you know how much I cared about that game. So
I feel like Howie's like.
I watched the last. I actually did watch.
Fired.
I watched the last. I watched the last 10 minutes. It was a terrible officiating.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah,
tough. Okay, Jordan Love. Why
Jordan Love. I'm mildly perplexed at why he's considered to be so good. I watched the playoffs last year, so I'm familiar that he, won a playoff game. He made some plays in it. They also had like multiple pick sixes in that game and one going away. I also watched him throw away their season in the only other playoff game he played. This game seems to make it pretty easy for him. He executes it well, but he doesn't add like any scariness or creation himself. Do you think he does? I mean, he doesn't create out of structure a whole lot.
Okay.
He hasn't thrown interceptions the last several weeks and shown that he's not as productive when he doesn't take those risks. I was just about to get to the sack stuff. Maybe part of this is that there were multiple times this year that I watched them play, rooting hard for them to win because they were playing the Lions and the Vikings, and I wanted the Eagles to get the 1 seed. And he sort of sucked in all those games, honestly. And
he's streaky.
Ascribing the approach, like we talked yesterday about how Jalen Hurts doesn't target a receiver on like close to a quarter of his throws, right? Love is at the other end of the spectrum. He has the 4th lowest non-target rate in the league. So that graph that we put up yesterday, like we put it up to talk about Jalen being at the bottom of it, but Love was at the very top or near the very top. He gets sacked on 3% of dropbacks, throws away on 3%, and scrambles on 3%. That adds up to 9%, which is less than Jalen's sack percentage alone, right? But like, I'm not saying this to praise him. Like, I think that this has a lot to do with the system. Like, his EPA per dropback is worse than Jalen's. His overall success rate is worse than Jalen's. He's not part of the run game in any way. On a team that runs the ball more than any other team in the league, like or second most or whatever, why do they run it so much if he's so great is a question you could ask.
Okay, how about the same question about Jalen Hurts?
Okay, fine, but he's part of the run game. He's part of the run game.
Your idea that quarterbacks are just automatons and they're just reflections of the scheme? Like, you don't blame Jalen Hurts, you blame Kellen Moore.
I'm not.
Jordan Love doesn't get credit. It's all Matt LaFleur.
Vic Fangio said in his presser this week that like one of the things that's made it easier for Matt LaFleur this year is that running the ball is a good option now. He didn't think it was like easy for him to call the offense before. Is this something anyone said about like a Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady offense?
I mean, like, saying he's Patrick Mahomes.
No, but people act like he's this like clearly better quarterback. Like, I would rather have Jalen Hurts than Jordan Love because of the dimension that he adds to the run game and because he can create out of structure. I think that those things matter a lot. And I think when you have a system like they have, and he just kind of stays on schedule, it can be hard to disentangle the quarterback from the rest of the stuff. And yeah, he doesn't get sacked. But when he gets pressured, his EPA per dropback, despite not having like any sacks, is still 18th in the league. Like, it's not like he's creating like when he's not getting sacked, right? So Jaws, who I don't always agree with things Jaws says, like sometimes they seem kind of outdated to me, but Jaws was very outspoken about him earlier this week. He called him overrated. He said he's good when everything's perfect. And like as soon as there's any kind of chaos, he melts. And that he thought that's what would happen against Fangio. And maybe that's just what I hope to see, but that's also what I think we'll see. I really do. Like I just don't see it.
Okay, that's fine. We spent some time yesterday talking about both of their man zone splits. One guy is one of the best in the league against zone and not very good against man, and Jalen Hurts is vice versa. Obviously, it matters more to be doing that against zone coverages. Yeah, I listened to Fran talk about how there are so many drops in that offense, and so his numbers should be higher. I don't know. I don't think that it's definitive in either way. I think when he's a very good quarterback.
I think it's like it's easy to say. It's obviously both of these are oversimplifying it. But when you say Jalen Hurts is way better against man than Jordan Love is, it's easy to point to the receivers and say like he has better receivers. That's why. And I think similarly with zone, it's easy to point to the scheme and the play caller and say that that's why it is for Jordan Love. And it's really hard to tell. Like if you just switched the quarterbacks into those coaching staffs, like what it would look like, right? It's hard to tell. I'm just not seeing that. If this game had been against Jaden Daniels, I would be like, oh man, like you can play everything perfectly and he can still beat you with a 29-yard scramble on 4th down, and like that in a playoff game that could make the difference. Whereas I don't see Jordan Love making that play. in a positive way. I can see him throwing a interception to Reed Blankenship, like that he shouldn't throw, like to make the difference. But I don't see him making like that play where it's like, oh man, Jordan Love, like beat us with this play.
I think he is a good enough quarterback to win the game on Sunday while the Eagles still play a pretty good game.
Sure. But I mean, that's how many quarterbacks would that be true for?
I think in the NFC, Goff and Jaden Daniels. I mean, you could argue Baker Mayfield, but like I don't know. I guess Stafford, but yeah, I mean, I think he's good.
I'll wait while you list like every quarterback in the because you have to ask Jaden Daniels too. Like, who are you not saying as part of the list?
Well, I'm not saying Darnold.
Okay, that's fine.
Is that it?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
All right. So you think Jordan Love's better than Sam Darnold?
I think
that's fine.
If I was drafting NFC quarterbacks, I don't know. He might be at the top.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
You just have a thing for Packers quarterbacks. You all those years you loved Aaron Rodgers. Maybe when maybe Jordan Love will also go batshit crazy, and then you'll start hating him.
I mean, he's gonna turn out to be some kind of demon. That's just the track record.
Right.
All right. Well, you're talking about the running game. Why don't we talk about the run heaviness across the league, which has, your beautiful pass first NFL this is really come to shock you.
It's killing me. So
Julia,
I guess we have some graphs. Yeah.
These are, let's see.
There are a couple of graphs from different years where
these are the ones that I sent you that were 3 together.
Yeah, these are some graphs that I tweeted out maybe last week at some point after the regular season was over, and I was just looking at some league-wide trends, and it struck me as someone who's like passing is more efficient than running guy, as you all know I am, and I know Claire is very much into running the ball. It struck me that 4 of the top 5 teams this year by EPA per drive were above average in neutral situation run rate, right? So when you look at just how often teams run the ball in neutral situations are early downs, not in garbage time, and like not in the last 2 minutes or something like that. I forget exactly what it is, but it's like neutral situations. So it's filtering out all these things where it's like you're running it because you're in the lead at the end of the game and things like that. So this is basically like an approach to the game type thing so the teams further to the left on this graph are the teams that run the ball the most. And you'll notice one reason we're talking about this now is that the Eagles and the Packers are the 2 heaviest run teams in the NFL.
And you've pulled out all the playoff teams there.
The highlighted teams are the ones in the playoffs. Exactly. Now, the higher you are on this graph, the more efficient your offense was overall. So the teams with the best offense by EPA per drive for the season are at the top. And you'll notice there are a lot of teams in the upper left of this graph. And that means that a lot of the best teams in the league on offense were very run heavy this year. And it's not just, we're not just counting like running back yards, because that could be like all yards when you have a huge lead, right? That's not what this is. So the Bills, the Lions, the Ravens, and the Commanders were all top 5 by EPA per drive, and they're all run-heavy teams. And by run-heavy, I mean that they are above average in how much they run it. That's 4 out of the top 5 teams. There were 2 last year, San Francisco and Detroit, 1 in 2022, none in 2021, 1 in 2020, 2 in 2019, and then none in 2017 or 2018. And I think, Julia, you might have like the 2018 graph there. If you look at the 2018 graph, it looks like almost perfect positive correlation between how much you pass the ball and how good you are. Like there are almost no outliers on that. Seattle looks like a little bit of an outlier, but that's it. So again, like none of the top 5 teams are in the run heavy part of the graph there. In fact, it looks to me like none of the top 8 are, or none of the top 7 are. So that's how the NFL was. And one of the reasons that this is exciting to me as an economist, like this is my day job, right? As someone who teaches game theory, is that over time, I was waiting for this to happen. Like teams are going to realize that stopping the run should not be the priority, right? And that kind of happened. Like these Fangio style 2 high defenses that have focused more on stopping deep passes and focusing less on the run, more of the kind of double gapping or 1.5 gapping type stuff. And that made running the ball become a more efficient way to attack than it had been before. There was an era where teams were still kind of focused on stopping the run, but offenses had learned that, like, well, you can throw it over these guys when they're doing that. And I think the Legion of Boom 2013 like era Seattle defenses are partly to blame.
Okay.
I think a lot of defense coordinators thought, like, hey, I should do what they're doing, but they didn't have like Earl Thomas,
Right.
like, who could cover
Richard
like as much
Sherman,
range
yeah.
as two safeties. Richard Sherman, sure. And so that led to a lot of teams being able to be productive passing the ball and just like moved away from running. That also explains why there was so much less running and so much more passing in the league as an overall volume for a bunch of those years. And so it's fascinating to me to see that kind of come back this year, right? Like, this is the first time in recent memory that there's like literally negative correlation between how much teams pass the ball and whether they're efficient. And I think that's cool. I think it's neat. Like, it's neat to see that like defenses have come around to learning to stop the pass, and that's made running and passing like closer to equally efficient. Kind of like in the NBA, like 2s and 3s are almost equal expected points now.
Okay.
Like for many years, like 3s were higher expected points than 2s, and now we've finally gotten to the point where the percentage of 3s made is like exactly like 1.5.
Do you think that this is the status quo moving forward, or do you think that this is just a one-year blip and things will cycle back the other way?
Well, one of the things I think so. Evolutionary game theory says that once players learn how to play the game, it stays in equilibrium for a while, right? So you would think that it'll stay like this for a while, where it'll be balanced and it won't be obvious that like passing it just makes you win or running it just makes you win. I mean, the Chiefs are still good and they pass it all the time. You know what I mean? I do think another part of this that's interesting is all the talk about how this is the return of the running back. And you know that I don't think that the running back is the main thing that makes a run game good.
Yeah, you were very angry that Dallas Goedert was named first team All-Pro running back.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like whoever said that in the chat, very clever. Here's the thing that I'll just quote to make my point about this. I think teams are going to be wrong about the value of signing good running backs the same way they were wrong about the value of playing like cover 3 the whole game the way Seattle did. The reason that Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry and to some degree Josh Jacobs, though he's not that efficient, have been good this year is that they're on good teams. And all you have to do is look at what they were doing last year, right? So by success rate, Saquon Barkley went from 47th last year to 13th this year. Derrick Henry went from 35th last year to 4th this year.
Whoop!
Josh Jacobs went from 48th last year to 15th this year. I don't make up the numbers, man. 47th out of 57 running backs. If you do it by EPA per rush, Saquon Barkley went from 52nd last year out of 58 running backs. You know, he didn't have Dallas Goedert or Lane Johnson blocking for him last year, to 5th this year. DeAndre Swift was like 8th last year. So all I'm saying is, obviously Saquon makes the Eagles better, but the Eagles make Saquon more better than he makes the Eagles better. And this is going to be true if teams think that like, oh, if some terrible team thinks that like signing a big name running back is going to make them good, they're going to be wrong the same way that teams thought it would be a good idea to play cover 3 with like bad safeties.
Yeah, but the flip side is that all of those teams that are towards the top of the league, they were in that top left quadrant.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens, the Eagles, the Packers, all big money free agent acquisitions. The Lions used a first-round pick on Jahmyr Gibbs. The Bills had a second-round pick on James Cook. So the resource allocation there is still significant. That's all.
Well, Jahmyr Gibbs is on a very good team, and he's very good. I mean, he's first in EPA per rush. I mean,
yeah, I'm just saying. I think you're right that it is running back. We can look at it as a position that is luxury is not the right word, but it's a multiplier on an infrastructure that is already good, and maybe you're chasing the upside. But it does play out that those are all teams that have invested significant resources into the position.
Yeah, but I mean, they would have been good without them. Like, and so the economics point to be made here is that like a good running back complements an already good offense, and vice versa. And so
this is a very good offense.
The result should be that the best teams are the ones with the best running backs, and that's not because they're good because they have the good running backs. It's because they're the ones who should value the best running backs the most. It's like we already have everything kind of nicely here. Like now we should get a good running back to kind of make it even better.
I think that's
it would have been like people say like, oh, the Giants were so stupid to let Saquon go. Like I disagree. Like it's like Saquon wasn't making them better.
You thought they should throw him off a bus and just let him go. I mean, punt him off the canyon. I don't know. Jamie Gilliam.
I'll let you finish.
All right, let's take a break. Hear from our sponsors. TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Did all of that holiday shopping leave you with a credit card balance that's weighing you down? Well, what if you could pay that balance off faster and with 0 interest until 2026? It's true, because TrueMark Financial is offering 0 interest on balance transfers for 12 months, so all of your payments can go toward reducing your balance, not just covering your interest. Here's the play. Transfer your existing balance from another institution to a TrueMark Financial Visa credit card and take advantage of this amazing offer. But hurry, you have to apply by February 28th, 2025. So whether you are interested in earning rewards, cash back, or simply prefer a low rate for everyday purchases with TrueMark Financial, you can choose the credit card that best fits your financial needs. Visit TrueMark.com, that's TRUMARK.com/compare for full details and to apply today. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by the NCUA, equal opportunity lender. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to approval. 3% balance transfer fee applies. And then, which one should we do, Julia? Pneumonia, fall allergy, pharmacy services, refreshery, or flu shot? Let's do pneumonia. Pneumonia? I don't even know one. I haven't even said anything and you're both laughing. This is not a laughing matter, guys. This is serious business. All right. Help protect yourself and your family from pneumonia. Adults aged 50 and older are now eligible for the vaccine. It used to be 65 and older. The CDC lowered the age recommendation to 50 recently. Millions of people get pneumonia every year, according to the CDC. It's a respiratory illness, and fall and winter are a time when germs that cause respiratory disease typically spread more in the community. So now is the time to get vaccinated and help yourself stay healthy. Some people who get pneumonia have mild symptoms, but others experience serious complications. The vaccine is one of the best ways to help keep yourself healthy, and it's usually no cost with insurance. Getting vaccinated is easy. Just walk into your local Rite Aid or schedule online at riteaid.com. Unsure of what vaccines you may need? Just ask your pharmacist for a personal recommendation. Stop by your local Rite Aid today. That was you guys. I didn't do anything.
Oh, man. That was excellent.
All right. Deniz, you want to talk about deep balls?
Well, we were on the run-heavy thing. Okay. Just, you guys touched on this a little bit on Tuesday, but just to link it to one of my favorite stats, which is how efficient you are on first down and like whether you're moving the chains on early in the downs.
Chain rate,
sure. The Packers are like the worst playoff team in both sides of the ball at moving the chains and also like having the chains moved on them on first down in particular. They run the ball on 62% of first downs, which usually means you're not going to have negative plays or, getting like 2nd and 10, but it also means you're not moving the chains, right? Like, so it's going to be like 2nd and something. They run it on 57% of neutral downs, which is the most in the league, even more than the Eagles. And so they are 26th in the league and the worst of all playoff teams at actually What's going on?
Julia's just going back.
Okay.
We were correct.
26th at moving the chains on first down. So the Eagles are going to get to second down. I mean, the Eagles defense is 8th in the league at getting to second down, 1st in the league at getting to third down. So we should see that we're getting to those late downs. It's just going to be a matter of what happens, of course, on those late downs. Green Bay's been very good at moving the chains once they get
the money down
to those late downs. Oh, money down, but I mean, they've also been decent at making it third and relatively short.
Okay.
And then on defense, they're 29th at getting to second down. They allow more first downs than any other playoff team on defense. And actually, a lot of the stability metrics, we were talking about this yesterday in the show about Green Bay's defense, but a lot of the stability metrics are it's like they're making the splash plays, they're getting the interceptions, things like that. But on a down-to-down basis, success rate, first down, which is the most common down, they haven't been that good.
Yeah, I am skeptical of the Packers defense being so turnover reliant. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
It's why I think the Eagles should be able to move the ball on offense. It just comes down to, can they protect the ball? And I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not great analysis, but that's what they got to do.
Yeah, and the Eagles defense was not getting any turnovers earlier in the year.
Yeah.
And has been recently. So we'll see if that trend continues.
Okay. One of the things to keep an eye on that front is the deep balls.
Yeah.
This Eagles team that is very efficient when they throw it deep, but throws it deep at a very low rate.
Yeah.
Going up against a Packers defense that has created a lot of turnovers on those specific plays. Julia, these are the charts from yesterday that we didn't use yesterday. I think it's a deep pass. Something. Got it. Which one do you want to do first?
We can talk about offense first.
To offense.
Yeah, the Eagles, real quickly, we talked about this before, so just real quick, they throw the ball down the field 2.6 times a game, I think it is. They're in a virtual tie with the Lions for the least in the league. Now, part of that, of course, is you have the lead late in the game, things like that. They also throw it less in general than anyone else.
It is interesting to me that the Eagles and Lions are both there, because you would think if you are run heavy, then just play action wise, you should be able to take deep shots, and defenses.
And
should
the
be
Lions run
up.
a crazy amount of play action. They run more play action than anyone else. So it's surprising.
That's a little surprising.
Yeah, I guess their offense really, hopefully in 2 weeks we'll be doing a big Lions preview. Their offense relies a lot on those intermediate in-breakers, which don't quite go 20 air yards, I guess. So, and this is a 20 air yard stat. Yeah. So that's the main reason. The Vikings, by the way, when you watch the Vikings, if it seems like they just chuck the ball up and Justin Jefferson catches it, that is the chart really shows that that's the case. They're a complete outlier. They complete 50% of their deep passes, which is crazy.
That's insane.
The league average is 35%, and there's no other team above 40%. So the Vikings have just been doing it with smoke and mirrors that way, but. So deep balls is not something we're going to see the Eagles try that much probably in this game. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe this game will be different. The Packers are kind of at the other end of the spectrum, 4.5 times a game that they throw it deep. They also lead the league in percentage of pass plays that go 20 yards, not just air yards, but big pass plays. You know what I mean? 12% of their pass plays result in 20-yard gains or more. That's a lot, and that's first in the league. And the Eagles' defense, on the flip side, is best at preventing those. Only 6% of the throws against the Eagles have gone for 20 or more yards, and a bunch of those were in the first month of the season.
Right.
If you take out the first month of the season,
four of them in the week one game.
Yeah, and if you take out that game and also the Tampa game, you end up with, and the Atlanta game had a couple as well. Yeah. If you take out those 4 games, the Eagles are first even with those 4 games, but it goes down to 3 point something percent. Which is a total outlier from the rest of the league. The Texans are the only ones who allow a higher percentage of deep passes completed against them as well. So that's what the other chart, the defense chart on this. You can kind of see the Eagles there near the bottom. Teams attempt over 4 20-yard air yard passes against the Eagles, but you can see the Eagles and the Texans are kind of outliers in how few of them get completed. So. And Matt LaFleur was talking earlier this week. in his first presser of the week on Tuesday, he said something like, the Eagles defense is humming. We're not expecting to get those explosives. And
especially because they came on missed tackles. Like, and I don't think like that is one thing that I'm definitely not worried about.
Yeah, missed tackles,
a couple missed tackles,
and then there was
assignments.
Assignments where like it looked. There was one where it really looked like Cooper DeJean wasn't wide enough, so it was like a domino effect.
Right.
Like it looked like it was CJ's fault at the end. It kind of wasn't.
And I'm also not really worried about the running game. I totally trust the Eagles' run defense.
Yeah, I mean the Eagles' run defense is what is it by DVOA? Is it first or is it second? It's first or second. Yeah, it's second by DVOA. So yeah, it's also like second.
Denver is first.
Yeah, that's right. So I mean, just kind of continuing with the trend of from yesterday of talking about like the rosters and all of that, especially on when Green Bay has the ball. I just think the Eagles are just like gonna be the better unit out there, and I'm just not that worried. And going back to week 1. The first thing I did this week was like I went back to week 1 and I watched that game, and I texted Fran after the first play because the first play, the first third down, I should say, the first third down, Eagles are in 3-2 dime personnel, which they don't run anymore. Yeah. There are 3 linemen, 2 linebackers, dime behind it. They run a drop 8 spy cover 1 robber coverage. They haven't done like any of those things since then. Like they don't do spy, they don't do drop 8, they don't do anything. And then the play was Avonte Maddox getting beat on a corner route, and Avonte Maddox doesn't play anymore either. Yeah. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm wasting my time watching this game because it's like completely different. It's a completely different defense now. You know, like and Zach asked Vic Fangio earlier this week about whether all the blitzing in that game was more a product of Green Bay or if it was more a product of him just not knowing his own team yet. Fangio ran 10 blitzes in that game, 4 exchanges. So that's 14 times out of 34 dropbacks that a non-defensive lineman was rushing the passer. That's almost half. I mean, the rest of the year, that number's gone down to like 23% or something like that.
Okay.
And there were 4 snaps of cover 0 blitz in that game. Guess how many snaps of cover 0 blitz there have been in the last 12 Eagles games?
1.
And do you know which play it was?
Was it the Jaden Daniels scramble?
No, it was not.
No, because there was a guy there to miss it.
It was the Xavier Legette drop.
Really?
Yes. That is the only snap of cover 0 blitz the Eagles have played.
Interesting.
Since
they got dusted. Yeah.
Since the Cleveland Browns game in week 6.
Wow.
It was just crazy. I mean, they've only had 8 total for the year and 9 total for the year. 4 of them were in that first game. And so I'm not expecting to see any of that is kind of my point. And then one other thing in terms of just looking at and you could say like Love hasn't been good against the blitz. Like his splits against the blitz like aren't that good and all that. But I just don't expect it to be. I think like Vic is going to trust the things he's been doing most of the year. Like, do you think we're going to see anything crazy? Like Shield was asking the other day, like it's like crusty old DC. Are we going to see some crazy stuff? Like, I'm just not seeing that.
I think I'm sure there will be some kind of maybe special blitz package. Not even a package, just 1 or 2 plays on third down at some point. But I think it's going to be mostly sticking with what they're good at because they're so good at it.
I would think so too. And then maybe against Josh Allen in the Super Bowl, like we'll see some crazy stuff or something. I just don't think you need to do that in this game. Like I think your stuff should be good.
I think so too. Yeah, I think even probably not until Detroit, where maybe Minnesota because you're trying to get after them sooner. But I think that's right.
Maybe.
If you're watching on TV on Fast, by the way, check out the rest of this episode on allphly.com. We still got a little bit more to go.
One thing to look for, and this is, and I'm basing this on like something I heard Sean Syed say. He was like, I expect Green Bay to go a lot of empty in this game. And I was like, that's kind of weird because like they aren't a big empty team.
Sean Syed. He's not here to defend himself.
No, I think it's a good thing that he observed because they hit a 26-yarder to Jaden Reed in the first game out of empty, beating Quinyon Mitchell, and so that made me go back and watch all the empty snaps in that game. I was surprised. They ran empty 10 times in week 1 against the Eagles, and Fangio handled those, I think, again, differently than he will, I think, this time. He had 3 cover 0 blitzes and 3 exchange pressures on those 10 empty snaps. So he was not just sitting back and it worked. I mean, Baun got a sack on an exchange, and then the Reed Blankenship interception was on an exchange as well. They haven't been a big empty team. They're 24th in empty, around the same rate as the Eagles. But it'll be like something about the Eagles in that game made LaFleur think that empty would be a good way to go. So it'll be interesting. I would be willing to bet that they'll use empty more than the Eagles will in this game. Is my thought.
Okay,
should have made that a swooper, but
okay. Speaking of my dear friend Duffy, who's in the chat, love the guy. I accosted him and Zach this morning with a text that. In my focus, my steel focus on the matchup, I had forgotten that we had to do the annual playoff team draft.
Oh, no.
Where we draft the playoff teams, and you're just going total wins. So buys do not count as a win, just total wins for your roster. It's a snake draft, 4 rounds, so 2 teams don't get drafted. And Fran, as the new guy, got to have the number 2 pick. That was his choice. He wanted the number 2 pick. The right choice, because I think there was a clear top 5 here, and you don't want to get caught not having one of them. Zach got to choose. He went with a 3-4. So I led things off. Who do you think I took first overall?
Eagles.
I did not take the Eagles. It was between the Eagles and another team, but I did take the other team.
Ravens?
I took the Bills.
Okay. All right.
Because the Bills get that game at home against the Ravens, which, listen, that'll be a great game. But so I went
They
Bills.
lose at home in the playoffs like every year.
Nah, no, that's fine. I'm buying it. So I took the Bills. Fran took the Eagles.
I was just telling Evren yesterday that I think that Bills-Broncos game will be closer than people think. So
possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Fran, you're going to like Fran's roster then, because Zach then took the 1 seeds. He went Chiefs-Lions. So Fran got the Ravens. So
there's no need to even text Zach.
Eagles, Ravens. I then went Chargers, Bucks. I think the Chargers I think the Chargers are capable of upsetting the Chiefs in the second round potentially. Fran then took the Vikings. Zach took the Rams and Texans. Fran took the Commanders, and I closed it out with the Packers. So I have Bills, Chargers, Bucks, Packers. Fran has Eagles, Ravens, Vikings, Commanders. And Zach has Chiefs, Lions, Rams, Texans.
Mostly reasonable.
Now everybody knows.
Yeah. You think the Chiefs are going to do it? Smoke and mirrors all year.
Yeah, but they looked good the last week. The last time they actually played. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not doubting them. I'm not saying they're definitely going to go, but yeah, I think it's possible. Okay.
And how many turkeys do you give the Packers of winning this game?
Out of 100 or out of 10? It's usually out of 100.
Isn't it always out of 100?
I'm going to go 42.
Wow, that's high. The money line implies that it's something like 35, right? I think.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
Okay.
I think
it's up to 5 now, I believe. Last I checked on
the point spread?
Yeah.
Oh, so it might be less than 35 then for the other thing.
Okay.
I think it's telling that after a week of film and then stats and then going back and more film and
Fran is spreading
all these kinds
absolute
of things.
slander about me. This is outrageous.
Oh, I thought that was about Zach.
Yeah, I mean he's just making stuff up. One thing he said is true, but
Yankees, Lakers, and Cowboys. Yeah. You forgot Duke. You forgot Duke, Fran.
God, absolutely not.
That would upset
That's
him.
The most offensive.
That
thing
would
you
upset
could say
him even more as a fellow
That's
ACC.
The most offensive thing you could ever say to me.
As a fellow ACC grad who hates Duke, I know that will upset Bo. So, and he was even closer by proximity.
That's right. Super chat from Rob, who says, "Fair to expect Vic to go man heavy this week. Love has a massive man zone split, and his EPA per dropback falls to the bottom of the league versus man." We have talked about this throughout the week.
Yeah. There was more man than usual in week 1, but I mean, again,
I don't think it's going to go crazy.
No.
Leaning man.
I don't either. I don't either. I mean, there'll be some third downs where they do, and some situations where maybe they run certain plays that they think will.
They're also not. I mean, they're not as to the top of the league in zone percentage as you might expect, given Fangio's reputation coming into the season. They're like 19th in zone rate, right? Or man rate.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It's not like they're not like bottom quartile.
Yeah,
so
on dropbacks,
I think we will see it.
Let's see. On dropbacks, it's I can't right here. Yeah, 20th on all downs and 29th on late downs. So it like goes up on late downs, but not as much as it does for other teams.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Fran, this is beneath you.
Christian Laettner jersey, huh? I think it's telling that after a week of doing this, and I'm tired. I gotta get some sleep tonight and tomorrow night. Otherwise, I'm gonna get like sick when I go to the game. My main fear is best expressed as like it's just one game. Anything can happen. There's some percent chance that like things go wrong, as opposed to anything to do with the opponent. Like, I just think that's telling. Like, I normally am able to build up fear about something the opponent does that like will hit a weakness for the, like before the Super Bowl, I was horrified. I was like, oh man, like when they have the ball, this is not going to go well. I'm not thinking that with this game. And you know, these could be words that make me cry all off season. That's just like, you know, like someone fumbling a punt or something like seems like more of a potential cause for disaster than anything structural about the way these teams play.
It's supposed to be about like mid-30s for this game. You're going to be taking the bike still?
Oh, yeah. Well, the bike depends on whether the roads are still icy.
Okay.
I'm very risk-averse when it comes to icy roads. Like, I don't bike when it's icy. Okay. So if it snows again tomorrow, which it might do, and all that might make me lean Subway for this one. Yeah. And that wouldn't be like bad luck or anything. I've taken the Subway to games before.
I like that you said that as if every single person was thinking, well, that's going to be bad luck.
Yeah. Well, I saw the chat. The chat was asking about the hat. No, I did not wear the hat before the Commanders game. The hat is undefeated. So they were asking.
Yeah, but now you're double dipping on the hat. Does that change? The juju?
The hat combined with the shirt is too good. Yeah.
Will you consider wearing that shirt to the game?
Maybe under my stuff. Yeah, I've got like, you know, outward presenting like midnight green gear that I have to wear for the midnight green games.
Do you keep stats on the outfits?
On my outfits?
Yes.
My outfits always match what the team's wearing.
Okay.
Yeah. If the team's wearing black, I wear black. You know.
What do you think they're going to wear?
Oh, they're wearing midnight green on white for sure.
Okay.
So I have a stat on
that. This is their not good.
The Eagles have worn green on white for all 16 home playoff games in the midnight green era. 11-5 in those 16 games. The last time the Eagles did not wear green at home in the playoffs was 1995, the Rodney Peake game against Detroit. So there are your playoff uniform stats for those of you who tuned in for that.
All right. Zach, I believe, is still waiting to hear from Jalen Hurts. I believe he's going to give a press conference at some point, but you can stay tuned to his social media feeds. I think he'll do one of those handsome stand-ups where he gives you the updates. We'll get that bad boy on social media for what you need to know about Jalen Hurts.
Did you want to save the defenses, the good defenses this year? Being a lot of them were very bad last year. We can save that.
Oh yeah, let's talk about it very quickly.
Okay, yeah, very quickly.
You're the one who said you were tired.
I am. I gotta get sleep. It's been interesting to see that a lot of the teams that are very good on defense this season were terrible on defense last season. I saw people were talking about like this is a historic turnaround for the Eagles defense and all that, and it is
29th to
29th to first by DVOA. But when you look at the other teams that are good, you look at the Broncos went from 30th to 4th. The Chargers went from 26th to 9th. The Seahawks went from 28th to 10th. Green Bay went from 27th to 7th. Now, those are all teams except for Denver that have a new DC this year. So I was going to ask you what you think about that. Like, is this something that... And similarly, Jacksonville went from 10th to 31st. The Jets went from 3rd to 20th. Dallas went from 5th to 24th. And the Patriots went from 9th to 30th. This is completely crazy. There's actually
a lot of those teams did make changes to their staffs.
All of them made changes of the teams I mentioned, except for Denver. And the Jets, the DC became the interim coach, and so that messed it up a little bit. So Denver's the only one that just got better without changing coaches. it's a very like scary thing. Like
to me, my biggest takeaway is like the Eagles better do it this year because there's no guarantee the defense is going to be that good next year.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean,
right?
you'd say like, well, if Fangio stays, you've got all these young players, like it should be
right.
good.
Well, that's the thing.
Right.
That's the trick that you are always able to play on yourself in the offseason is that like, oh, well, these improvements have been made. They were this good last year. Everybody's going to like the progress is going to be linear. Like Quinyon Mitchell is going to be even better. Cooper DeJean is going to be even better. Vic's going to know these guys. There are absolutely no guarantees that will be the case.
Zack Baun got the third most votes for All-Pro of any defensive player at any position. Would you say that Vic Fangio invented him more than you invented Tanner McKee? Or would you say it's comparable?
It's a really good question. I mean, it's definitely comparable. I would say that we have evidence that Zack Baun played in the NFL before.
Okay.
And we don't have evidence that Tanner McKee played in the NFL before I invented
That's a good one in your column.
Yeah.
I think the position switch is a good one in his column.
That's
like
true.
if you had turned Tanner McKee
into
like a left guard.
That's a good point.
You know.
Yeah. I think but honestly, I am curious how you feel about the like Baun as a free agent signing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like he's so good we can't let him go? Or do you think to yourself, well, Vic was able to do this with this cast off. Why can't we ask him to do it again? And maybe that guy won't be an all-pro, but he'll be playable.
When the season is still going on, I am like the most. Yeah. No, it's not that I don't care. It's not that I don't care. It's I am so loss averse. Like I don't want anything to change. I'm like I love this team. I don't like this team is good. And it like my first instinct is like pay him. Like who cares how much it is? Like we have to keep Zack Baun, right? As soon as the season's over, you get a little more rational about it. Like you see the price tag and all that, I might think differently. But right now, I would think like, man, you got to keep this guy. Like, and I would hope that he would not take a huge discount or anything, but like part of him would want to stay here because he knows that he knows that he was invented by Vic Fangio in a way.
Yes, but also this is his one chance to really cash in, and if the Eagles aren't willing to meet the market,
if they're super stingy, then it's not going to work. Yeah.
My question in the my story this week was, if he leaves, is he the best one-season Eagle in franchise history? And I think he is actually pretty clearly.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, who are the other candidates?
Patrick Robinson. Ernest Jackson, I believe, had a 1,000-yard season.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty. The only other player.
When you go back in history, there wasn't free agency, so you didn't have the
only other player in Eagles history to have made the Pro Bowl in his only season with the Eagles.
Oh, man. Is it like
Clearly didn't do the homework. Didn't read the story.
Is it a specialist?
It is not.
Okay. Pro Bowl in his only season. I'm blanking. Sorry.
DeAndre Swift.
Oh, wow. Okay. I forgot he made the Pro Bowl.
There you go.
He was 9th by EPA per rush and success rate last year. 43 spots. 43 spots ahead of Saquon. The thing about defense that worries you like as well, it's not just that like bad teams get good, it's that good teams get bad. We were talking about it. The Steelers were the only team from the 2023 top 10 teams
it's just not super
that are still in the top 10. But that's crazy that only one of the top 10 stayed in the top 10.
Here's a question though. Maybe there is a correlation between the two things that we've talked about. Maybe that's because the league turned run heavy, and all these teams that were good last year were teams that were suited up to stop the pass.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see like the run pass splits of these teams and that kind of thing. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Maybe these were the teams that were ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right.
Or maybe it's just noise because everything in the NFL is.
Sure. All right. That'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. We are loaded with content for you on Sunday. We've got the kickoff show. We've got the halftime show. And we've got the postgame show with Jamie Lynch, Super Bowl champion Vinny Curry, and the guy in the chat. Fran Duffy. The best in the business.
Justice for Fran.
Even as he slanders me. And I'll have my lawyers get in touch with his lawyers. That'll do it. Julia, thank you very much. Deniz, thank you very much for pulling double duty this week.
It's been fun. Look forward to hopefully doing it again next week. If you'll have me.
If the Eagles win next week, we'll have another 6-show week and maybe a double dip of Deniz. So we're looking forward to all of that. For all of us, to all of you in the chat, thank you for watching and listening. Please subscribe and like the video, all that good stuff. We will talk to you on Sunday. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.